Well, it's week 6 of LCS, the final week here of regular season with Spring Split. This coverage brought to you by Alienware. It's the final day. Unfortunately, FlyQuest will not be headed on to the next part of spring. I'm joined right now by Licorice after a frustrating match, I'm sure, against Dignitas. So, Licorice, I just kind of wanted to do, if you're down, a post-mortem on the split and really kind of talk about what went wrong for FlyQuest over the past 6 weeks. So, just kind of kicking it off, what are some of the issues? What has held you guys back from being able to get up into that top 6?
Um, Man. I mean, obviously, there's gonna be a lot of issues. I think I don't want to rag on my teammates too much because I think that's just, I don't know, not the way to go. But I think for myself, I had a pretty bad split in general. Like, I think compared to the expectations that everyone had of me, I performed not up to those expectations. And obviously, I think today was like one of my worst games, maybe my worst game of the split. So ending on that note feels pretty shitty. Um, but I think we just really struggled to figure out what our team identity was and like figure out how we wanted to draft and like if we wanted to play like top prio or bot side or split push comps. Like we kind of like tried a little bit of everything and nothing really seemed to click. So I think that is like a huge factor in our performance because it never felt like we were in our like wheelhouse, so to speak. Like we tried the scaling Seraphine drafts, then we like dropped those, and we tried pretty much everything. So yeah, I don't know.
You said it's a situation where you feel very dissatisfied with your own performance. What do you think it is that's caused your performance to drop below expectations? The split, is it the new environment? Is it something going on with you personally? I don't know.
Well, I would say like it's going to be a combination of like a ton of different things. Like, um, I mean, first I'm going to say like last split I was on a winning team, and every player looks better when they're on a winning team, and every player looks worse when they're on a losing team.
Yeah.
So there's definitely like that part of it where I feel like the like flame or blame or whatever that players get for their performance is like really like misconstrued or whatever, or like it's really out of proportion. Because like obviously if like there's like scenarios where if I played better, then my teammates would have looked better, and if they played better, then I would have looked better because I would have been able to like clean up the fight and it would have been a better scenario, or like so like there's obviously that piece of it. Second, I think getting cut from a team is just fucking hard.
Yeah.
And I think that has been something that I've been struggling with a little bit. And I've been doing my best to like move past it, but like it's like a breakup, like they dumped me, it hurts, it sucks. Um, and like third is going to be that when you're on a team that is working really well together, you have a lot of people like covering for other people. Like when I was on Cloud9, like I would help cover like certain macro decisions or like TP plays or some things. And Niski was like famous for doing like all the summoner timers because he was like copying Doinby. Um, and like it just feels like I'm trying to work on my confidence a little bit, and I like have to have more um like faith in my own calls basically, because I think when I was playing with like Blaver and I was like, oh, I think we should do this, and he's like, no, we're gonna fight here. It's like, okay, like we just fight there. Works out 9 out of 10 times. And like obviously that kind of thing just doesn't work when like I'm the veteran and I'm supposed to be like leading this team. So that is something that's like really on my mind that I need to work on. And yeah, I don't know. Like it's just a combination of a lot of things. It
Yeah.
sucks. I'm gonna try to get better for next split.
Have you struggled with confidence since that since you joined FlyQuest? Has that been a prevailing thing? I mean, only because you mentioned sort of needing to work on it, but also just the impact it can have whenever you do end up off of a team, not of your own will?
I would say that generally I'm pretty like on all the teams I've been on, I've been like the rookie, and the calm style that I've kind of developed was that I was like very like deferential to everyone else's calls. Like if I thought we wanted, like if I thought I wanted to do something, but like someone else thought something was better, like generally they were right because like it was like Jensen or Sneaky telling me to do something, or like even in Challenger, I had like Dandy and even like Gilius and Fox had like a lot more experience than I did at the time. So that's kind of like the way I've developed over all these years. And now all of a sudden it's like really bad on a team of rookies to like not be able to call really well around myself. And like that is something that I'm really trying to work on. And I think that if I can get that down, then we're going to look way better next split.
Is that an issue? Because obviously you've said, you know, you don't want to talk about your teammates on play, but you feel like yours hasn't been great. Setting aside everyone's like personal play and kind of the mechanics and all that, that sort of team wide decision making, is that also a huge issue? Because it sounds like if you think you should be the one that's bringing that, you're not necessarily bringing it. It would explain that, like, hey, when you get into late game and there's these team fights and people need to make the calls on where to go, where to be, what to do, if nobody is really doing that in the game, or you feel like you're not doing it to the level that you need to, perhaps that's part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's not even just late game. It's like the whole game. It's like lane phase, how we're gonna gank the lane and how we're gonna do this and that kind of thing. Um, and I wouldn't say that like my teammates' calls are bad and that they're just like fucking inting all the time, but like it's no one is really stepping up into that confident leader role. And then when you've got a lot of rookies, it's not like you have like this baseline um, level of like game knowledge, experience in shot calling that you have with a lot of these veteran teams. So then it feels like we kind of need someone to step up, and I just like wasn't able to really do that this split.
Yeah. How? I mean, is it almost like a relief at this point in time where you get this like longer break? Because obviously now there's playoffs and then MSI, so there's a lot of time for you to kind of reflect and think on this stuff and try to reboot. I assume that might feel nice in some way, or maybe it just still feels like bitter, especially after a game like that last one.
I mean, it's obviously mixed, right? Like I think with the way we're playing, it's like no one really wants to play more games, you know? Like if it's gonna look like that, then like it just feels fucking awful to play. But at the same time, like I'm sure everyone would take another week of scrims and playing if they had the option right now, you know, like Evil Geniuses was like, we don't want our playoff spot. Like
Right.
anyone want it? You know, like I'm sure that we would try to get on that. I mean, obviously not a thing,
I
but
just mean it must be nice to, like, at least now you can reset, right? Because with one thing that Riot did this year obviously is the change so that you almost have like there's less time between your next competitive match, and so I
mhm.
assume that you're almost kind of in this gauntlet where it's like it must be really difficult to try to figure stuff out in this short window that you have every week.
Yeah, I would actually say that a lot of my biggest growth as a player, and I'm going to point at my between my first split on C9 and my second split in between spring and summer there, like that gap was probably the fastest that I've ever grown as a player. So I think that time off can be super effective if it's used really well. And like that's what I'm going to be trying to doing in this off season.
Was there anything you want to say to any of the fans out there?
Um, I don't know. Like sorry, kind of. Like I feel like I let a lot of my fans down, you know? Like I wanted to come into this year and have a good split with my new team, and like I think we have the players to be able to compete, and like a fair amount of that responsibility for not having a good performance is going to be on me. So um yeah, sorry guys.
Yeah.
I'll try to do better next time, and like to the fans that are still supporting us, like thanks so much for sticking it through, because I know that it's like not it's like hard to be a player on a team like this, and it's also hard to be a fan for a team like this. So thanks so much.
Yeah. Hey, Licorice, thank you so much for doing the interview. I know it just sucks to do
Yeah.
losing interviews and stuff. So I do really appreciate it. And I know a lot of people watching this respect that. For everyone else, you can check out the rest of my coverage of all things LCS right here on my YouTube channel. Listen, if you're watching this, there is I think like a 10% chance. I think that's like my Canadian audience. Like 1 in 10 of you that are watching this right now are Canadian. And up until now, you were not able to get 10% off your order of an Alienware computer. And I have spent every single night since I inked the very first Alienware deal staring at my ceiling, where in my memory, like just, it doesn't actually exist in real life, but like my brain transposes a Canadian flag onto my ceiling as I'm staring at it 3:30 in the morning, wide awake. And in order to get this resolved and my ability to sleep, I got it. So you guys have a code now. So Travis 10 off. You can use it to save 10% off your order, just like us Americans down here to your south. I did this for you. Appreciate me.